All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lions Guy Podcast. And on today's episode, we've got Mr. Paul Vedder, who is co-founder of VXIT, not VXIT, not VXIT,
VXIT.
VXIT officially since 2015. And I met you down. I forget where it was, but I know I met you at an Enable conference, partner conference
in Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. That's right. And we were,
Yep.
you were just kind of on a list of. I was trying to talk to other owners. It was on an acquisition campaign actually that we were looking for other acquisition targets at the time for Corsica. And it was a great conversation. I remembered you emailed me recently. You were like, "Hey, do you remember?" Like, damn right, I remember you. So yeah. So and you were also, once we hooked back up, you were one of the influencers who got me started on 75 hard, which was cool. We'll talk about that too as we get into this. But you're a high performer, man, or maybe aspiring high performer.
Aspiring for sure.
Yeah, we all are, man. But you got a great story to tell, so want to take you up on getting on the podcast, man. And so, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what do you do?
Yeah, thank you. So, like you said, I am the co-founder and managing director of VXIT. Been in IT for about 15 years, just over 15 years professionally. I think I built my first computer when I was like 12 years old. Just kind of love technology, but beyond the technology piece, I love the people and the business side of what we do, kind of the business process and the person sitting behind that computer. So, essentially, I'm doing kind of what you were doing at Corsica, and loving every minute of it. We got our official start in January 2015, grew, we'll do just over 3 million in business this year and employ 18 people total. So really, really excited about kind of our growth past last year. We definitely had a dip last year, but we're coming out on the other end stronger, which is awesome. So right now I'm just trying to dial in, and this is kind of the word I'm using with my team, is operational maturity. So we're kind of searching for, just maturing our processes, our procedures, kind of what we do, how we do it, and just bettering our service offering through that. So live in South Florida. I was born and raised here, married my wife. We both grew up in the church, got married young. We have two girls that we actually adopted from foster care. They're both 7. They're not biologically related. They're 6 months apart. So basically twins without that biological connection. So it makes for an interesting dynamic. But born and raised in South Florida. And it's funny, I actually, growing up here, I used to hate Florida until my business partner, he moved down here from Jersey, and he's like, "How are you not at the beach every day?" And I'm like, it's just kind of always been here. And we just started like going to the beach more, and I don't know how or why, but I fell back in love with Florida, or in love maybe with Florida for the first time. So that was kind of a nice thing to do, because I think it was more of a rebellious thing, like growing up as a teenager, like, screw this, I was born and raised here, I'm leaving the minute I can, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But found my love for Florida, and I love it here. We live in paradise. I love to go visit the snow, and I love to go skiing and do other things and go see the mountains, but I love coming home here and sitting by the beach and eating a nice fish dinner.
Yeah, so when you get to the point where you like start picking your head up, I have that too. And because people will come to me like from out of the area, and they'll talk about like some place around here that's like a destination or whatever, and they go, Bob, you ever been to whatever? I'm like, no, actually. And they're like, what? You never been there?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm sorry. But I guess that's what it is. Like it's just, we take it for granted, or it's just kind of like, it's like background noise. I don't know. But there's a ton of places around here. I've been here all my life, except for my stint in the Marine Corps. And people hit me all the time. Like, about something? I've never heard of it, man. What? It's been there 60 years.
Yeah. And it's cool to explore that space where you grew up. And, I think people wanting to move away, sometimes it's like the grass is always greener on the other side. The reality is it's not. And, I was listening to Andy Frisella's podcast this morning, and he was talking about how like rich people have problems. And it's so true. Like they have problems too. That was his whole point. It's like everything's so relative, whether you live in Florida or Colorado. Like you're struggling with different things, but it's all very relative to everything. The amount of money that you make, it's also relative, because you're still dealing with problems. We're all human beings. So everything's so relative. So,
I mean, yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because we were talking about this before the show, right? Like don't look up and think like that the people at the next level or beyond or whatever you're aspiring to, it's just new level, new devils, man. Like, it's just a different level of challenges. Like you're up against what you're up against now, but when you reach that next level, it's just, it's like back in the day. How old are you?
35. I'll be 36 in
So
December.
I don't know. You remember back in the day when video games were like normal and there were levels and they got harder as you went? Like
Yep.
that's the way it is. I mean, that's the way
Yeah.
life is. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you made it to level 2, but now you're facing level 2 enemies or whatever, you know.
Yep. And back then, like there was not a lot of save buttons. Like you couldn't like restart. You had to start from the beginning. Back in the Mario days.
Oh yeah, Contra, all the good ones.
Yeah.
So so we were talking a bit, you know, about your personal mission and how you found personal development. So walk us through that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I guess I'd be interested to know, like, what was the before and after? What was the tipping point for you? Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
your journey.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. So, I was born and raised in like a very conservative Christian household. So, I was kind of just, I don't want to say sheltered, but I was sheltered throughout my childhood. And I did quote unquote everything right. If you kind of look at my upbringing, and I'm an open book with a lot of this stuff, but I waited till I was 21 to drink for the most part. I think I had like a Mike's Hard lemonade once or twice when I was like 17 or 18. It was there. But I like, there were kids around me that were partying and just going crazy. I lost my virginity on my wedding night. Again, that conservative Christian upbringing, that those are just the things that it produced. It's not better or worse than anybody. It was just the thing. So a lot of people look at my life story and they're like, oh, you did it right and whatnot. And so I kind of grew up in that with that background. And so waited till I was 21 to drink. Started drinking a little bit, but around 2013, I started traveling full time for work. And when you travel full time for work and you're away from your wife and your family that you love, and you basically have nothing else to do, but you go to the bars at night and you eat dinner and you have a couple drinks and you go back to your hotel room. And I did that full time for 6 months. And I think that was kind of where I started to rely on alcohol to kind of relieve stress and almost just kind of normalize my stress and everything negative that was going on in my life. And, fast forward a few years, and this was probably, it's 2021. This is probably 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, maybe even into 2018. But long story short, I found myself drinking too often. I wasn't like getting blackout drunk. I wasn't going super crazy, but it was just every day I was drinking alcohol, and it literally was my only way that I could escape or like I said, normalize and deal with the stress and everything kind of negative in my life. So we were hanging out at a neighbor's house one day, and I had been drinking all day. And when I say neighbor, I mean literally like the house next door. Actually, I think it was two houses next door. So we were not far from home. But I had driven my truck over there because I had some stuff in the back of the truck I needed to give him. But we were all hanging out. We were all drinking, having a good time. Goodness knows how many alcoholic beverages I had that day, but it was time to go. And me, the wife, and the two kids, we were hopping in the truck. And my wife, Robin, she's like, "Oh, I'll drive because you've been drinking." And I'm like, Robin, like it's literally like two houses down. I think I can handle this. Well, that spiraled into a very aggressive evening where I decided, because I was drunk and angry, to punch a hole in the door of our master bedroom because she had locked herself in the bedroom, and she was afraid of me. Now, never during that time was I ever going to cause her harm, but just having her or putting her through that experience was devastating to me. It was very, very rough. So basically the next day she said, something's got to give. Like, this is just not working out. And I had been feeling it, and it wasn't just us, but it was me in my personal life. I wasn't able to handle stress well. I was trying to build a business. And like I said, alcohol just kind of seemed to be that center point of helping me deal with my stress, but also causing it. So she had just randomly found, because we were struggling in our marriage, she had randomly found, and you actually just had them on your podcast, Seth and Melanie Studley of Anatomy of Marriage podcast. She randomly found that podcast and she sent it over to me, and she's like, "Hey, why don't you give this a listen?" She actually didn't think I was going to listen to it, but I ended up listening to it, and them just being so authentic and vulnerable and sharing their story just really resonated with me. And then I found Andy Frisella from another buddy. And between those two podcasts, basically it awoken something in me. The light went off, something clicked where I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to live like I'm living. There's ways to work around all of this. Cause I felt alone in a dark room, not able to navigate what was going on in my life. And those two podcasts, and it ballooned into many other podcasts and books and whatnot, but those two podcasts really were the catalyst to realizing that there were reasons why I was doing the things that I was doing. And then from there, I could figure out how to change them and then execute on goals and a lifestyle that I wanted and things like that. So that was it was a very dark day when that fight occurred. But out of it came just an interesting journey where I dove headfirst. Like I said, I think that's been about 4 years now, where I dove headfirst in the personal development world, and it's still a struggle. I still drink from time to time. I still do drink, but it's definitely not like it was. But I'm getting to the point where, again, this is me being honest. I think at some point in the near future, I'm going to have to say, enough is enough. We're gonna cut it out completely, because it's just, I alcohol is great. You can crack a beer, have a good time. I love it. I love scotch. I love whiskey. I love it all. But at the end of the day, I feel like, personally, this is just my opinion, I'm literally poisoning my body. It's not helping me with my weight loss goals. I've always been a hefty guy. So I've always had a few extra pounds, and alcohol is definitely not going to help me meet my fitness goals. And when I drink the way that I do, it basically, I'm letting my evenings steal from my mornings that I want to have.
Yeah.
So, I'm not getting up early. I'm not doing my journaling. I'm not reading. I'm not getting up to work out because I feel like shit because I drank the night before like an asshole.
So now you bring the coaching me out, right? So, so all that said, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Not a damn thing. Yeah.
I mean, because I hate to even put it like that, but I'm
do it.
Like, because you said all the things, like you said, how much that it's not serving you. It's not serving you, right?
It's not.
So
yeah.
What are you waiting for? What makes you drink now? Like all that said,
it's mental. Yeah, it's mental. It really is mental, because I'm still struggling to a certain extent with anxiety. I think I have, and I've actually been to therapy. I have a low level probably of generalized anxiety disorder. So I deal with abnormal anxiety where it's like chemically induced. And here's the funny thing about this. I'm saying all this. Alcohol relieves my anxiety, but it also can cause it. It also is probably causing it the next day. So it's this vicious circle and a vicious cycle. But it's totally a mental thing that I have this block in my mind that it's like, because we went out last Friday with a couple, and I was like, I'm not going to drink, because crazy enough, the 3 people that we were out, my wife cut back on drinking and is not drinking right now due to health reasons, and then the couple that we were out with, they're not drinking. They actually haven't had a drink in like 3 years. And it was so easy for me not to drink. And I had some wine, and it was crazy to me that I could be amongst people that weren't drinking, and it was kind of a safer space versus like going out with people that are drinking. You're going to that environment where it's prevalent, and you're almost pressured into it, but it was a safe space. And I almost had anxiety about not drinking. So it's just like, it's getting to that point where it's just like, I've got to make some serious changes, but it's hard. It's a mental thing, like everything. It's a mental thing.
Now, is there anything else that relieves your anxiety? Is there anything else that you do that you feel good after?
Yeah. Yes, but I tell you what, it's amazing how good I feel when I don't drink. And I hate that, because it tells me that I shouldn't drink. Because when I don't drink, when I'm on 75 hard or during the week, when I'm not drinking, I wake up refreshed. I can get things done. My mind is sharp. But I just find myself, what's like a dog to his vomit, like going back to just that thing, So
that's an analogy I haven't heard before, but I get it.
It might be a Bible verse. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just a thing that I continue to go back to, and it's something, again, honestly, it's something that I'm just struggling with right now. It's tough.
I mean, how do you want to see it turn out?
In my mind right now, I want to be able to enjoy a drink or two every now and then and not have it consume me or control my life in some way, shape, or form. But I don't see that being a possibility. It's just, I just don't think it, because I think that it's just too much of an issue for me personally that it's just I'm not going to be able to drink in moderation. That's
Sure.
what it is. I can't. It's clear that I can't moderate it.
Yeah.
So it's something that's going to have to go.
Yeah. I mean, so can I relate a little bit on that?
Absolutely, please.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, that's where I mean, 100, everything you said, I've said that. I've said all those things over and over
Yeah,
again. I mean, and I get it, the anxiety of a business because the stress. I mean, you got a wife, you got kids, you got the business, you got all these demands and so on. And just for me, so I'll just be candid about myself for a minute. It was that, man. I just hated running with a parachute on.
yeah,
I hate that feeling, and it just hit the point where I hated it so much that I don't want to drink. I mean, so for me, with regard to the decisions to drink, right? Like with 75 hard, like I've not drank plenty of times over, right?
yeah,
It's like almost like that smoking joke, right? Like quitting smoking's easy. I've done it a million times, or whoever said that,
yeah,
right?
yep,
But it's not that. I would take breaks, and I never really back in the previous one say like I'm not drinking any. Like I just said, I'm just taking a break, and it was always again for all the reasons that you described, right? I
yep,
felt it was holding me back. I had too much stuff going on to just have that drag, like say running
yep,
with the parachute on, and
yeah,
and I resented it. I always had the resentment of having drank, and I didn't get up. I didn't stick with my game plan. I didn't, feel like crap. So I know I'm not doing. So people would ask me about it. I was always like, look, man, I don't have time to not be executing at 100%, because
yeah,
I need to be executing at 125%. And then when I drink, even if it's 98%, I'm a little pissed off about it, because I know I'm not even getting done everything I need to get done or want to get done. But here I
absolutely,
am. I somehow found time and thought it was important to freaking drink and put some drag on. So
yep,
the other point too, you said about the ability to drink in moderation. So that's probably the one thing that will keep me from going back, because number one, you'll see you guys will see me throughout this recording, right? I sit here and I drink, I consume a liquid, usually water, all day long. So I
hmm,
habitually, like, I have that habit of drinking.
yep,
So if you put me somewheres with a cooler of beer and put one in my hand, they are gone. Just because habitually I'm just sitting there drinking,
yep,
drinking, drinking. I'm always hydrated. So when we swap out that water for alcohol, so so I've had to just kind of go, look, I can't drink in moderation. I don't even want to toy with it, because I know it does not serve me in any way, shape, or form. And I've kind of just finally hit that point where like it's not my priority anymore, right? Like whether I enjoy it or and I don't know, man. I always was that person too. Like if I went to a social gathering, like I wanted to get that drink in my hand to take that edge off, like
yep,
and
yeah,
and flow a little bit and get a little loose or whatever. Not intend to get drunk, but like take that edge off. But I've had to learn just other ways to just go conversate and not worry about that. But I think this latest round has been Jody brought home the Heineken Zeros, and
yeah,
I know you mentioned everything but beer earlier, but you know, she brought home those Heineken Zeros, and that was the final thing that made it easy. I'll
yeah,
say easy. I can stand there at a gathering with a beer in my hand, but it's not alcohol. And the Heineken Zeros taste good. In fact, I was at the O's game the other night, and somebody was there, and they just told me they'd stopped drinking, and which was cool. And I started telling them that, like, hey, well, one of the problems is you're going to feel like a misfit amongst your friends
yeah,
and these.
yeah,
Uh, so here's how I solve for that. So this round of not drinking, starting with 75 hard, was I found this Heineken Zeros, and now that element of social anxiety from not drinking has gone, because now I'm
yeah,
standing there with a green can or green bottle in my hand, and no one knows the difference. And because that was the cases that I stopped in the past, it was always like you're standing there like I'll say it, you're standing there feeling like a goofball because you got this plastic cup with water and
yep,
ice and stupid little straw in it, probably
yep.
a lemon, and and it's annoying,
It is.
and it doesn't help with that peer pressure aspect of
Yep,
it, and you hit this point like, "Eff it, give me a beer." But
yep.
so
So you're not
now,
drinking right now? So
no,
are you
I,
done?
and I'm not going back. I mean, I'm not.
Nice.
I'll keep saying it publicly, you know,
That's awesome.
because it's just I don't enjoy it. And the other thing too is like I want to set a good example for my kids. You know,
Yeah.
I and in fact I maybe someone will come arrest me after they hear this, but I'll hand them the zero and go, hey, take a swig of this, you know, and just
Yeah,
say
totally.
like it's not, and I'll tell them this is not beer, and
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to pay dividends for me later, but I'm trying to give them that now because you know if you got any friends that have teenagers in the house, like it was bad probably when you and I were teens. It feels like it's way worse now.
Yeah.
But who knows what it is or isn't. But I feel like I want to enable my son, who's a preteen now, to go, hey man, if you're going to drink, like it doesn't have to be beer. You can still hang out. You can drink this, like, because as we work towards that conversation, I want to set a good example for him. You know,
For sure.
so it's those things that I guess have enabled me to uh, deprioritize it, you know. And that was the thing. I mean, we found out starting 75 hard because Jody did it with me was, you know, like who your supporters and detractors were, right? Like who are your friends and who are your drinking buddies? Like who only wants to hang out because you're going to drink with them and enable them
Yep.
to be drinkers too. And
Yep.
and I've said this before on the podcast, but it's worth repeating because I know a lot of guys struggle with this. They think they feel the same way you do, which is the same way reason I feel about it. And they don't want to hear the crap about it. They don't want to hear the razzing or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, man, you gotta, you know, like Priscilla said, you bring them up like the crabs in the buckets. You got to realize what they are, and it's no judgment against them. And I tell people this. It's like, and here's for everyone listening, you can say, hey, man, it's not about you. Like, I know you're going to see me not drinking and you're going to think I'm looking at you and I'm judging you. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm
Yeah.
judging me. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm not, you know, it's got nothing to do with you. I got nothing against you drinking. Like, so I'm not on a campaign. I know this conversation comes up a lot, but I think a lot of guys are struggling with it. They are.
They are. Yeah.
Um, it's been my experience. I'll say it. And again, everyone listen, I'm talking to guys weekly, different folks that are hitting the same point going, I know it's not serving me. You know, I know it's not serving me. So I'm not drinking right now. And it's totally fine, man. You're getting your priorities straight, you know,
Yeah.
it's not serving you. Um, so, you know, I because this conversation comes up, I'll say, but I'm not on an anti-alcohol campaign. Like, go
No,
do your
not at
thing.
all.
Do
Yep.
you? I've got no judgments against anyone who does or does not drink. So when I'm there and I'm not drinking, but that's what took away the by doing the Heinekens, right? Because now it's not
Hmm.
really a conversation. Like people don't look at me and go, "Hey, man, you need a beer?" And then it starts, right? Do you need a
Yes.
beer? No,
Yeah.
I'm not drinking.
Yes.
But if you're standing there with that green bottle or whatever in your hand, that conversation doesn't even start. So
Yes.
that difficult conversation doesn't pop up to someone who's been drinking, right? So they're getting half buzzed. Now they're starting to give you crap about it. But
Hmm.
anyways, so there you are, man. Like if you need
Yeah.
just another example of someone who's saying it works for me, you know, it
Yeah.
works for me. So
Yeah, and one of the things for me, I'm concerned that at some point, if I don't make the decision to do something about it, that decision is going to be made for me. So, you know, whatever that is or whatever that looks like, that's my biggest fear is just, you know, something bad happening while I'm drinking. Whether it's I decide to drive a little too buzzed or whatever, I get pulled over, like get a DUI, somebody gets hurt. Like I don't want that. I don't need it. It's completely unnecessary. I I just actually found out one of my old neighbors, house I used to live in. Um, Long story short, guy, he was one of the kind of the drinking buddies in the neighborhood. We'd go over to his house and drink. He got in a bar fight probably about a month ago, and two guys beat him to death. And
oof.
they were all drunk, and it's just like I heard that. It's just like what a waste. Like it didn't like he didn't have to die like that, but they were out, 4 o'clock in the morning at a bar, and his buddy starts a fight and two guys start getting on his buddy. The guy was actually trying to my buddy was trying to actually break up the fight, and he got in the middle of it, and the two guys that were going after his buddy beat him to death, and he died. And it's just like it's insane. Like what a waste. What a way to go. Like it's just a waste. It didn't have to be like that. And I was talking to another buddy actually on Friday. It's like you're out drinking late at night. Like nothing good is going to come of that. Period. Like Nothing good is going to come of that. It's just not, and it's true and it's sad. So anyways, yeah, it's a mountain to climb for sure. And I've got to do it. I've got to do it for myself. I've got to do it for my family. So, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
tough.
and it is tough, but that's everything worth doing is tough, right? We know that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know that in
Yep.
business, right? Running your business, you know that the hard stuff worth doing is tough, man.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, maybe that's the part that's screaming at you, right? That's the part, like I tell people, like if you're struck with fear, that's probably exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
Go square up to it. Because that's the fear is calling you, and you got to get your courage up and go face it and overcome it. Well, you have to keep me posted on the progress on that as it
Yeah. I
goes, man.
will. I will definitely. Definitely.
So aside from that, as far as your personal development goals, what else are you working on right now?
Yeah, I think one of the things, and this kind of ties into alcohol, but I'm trying. It does a little bit and it doesn't, but I'm trying to get or not let my weekends destroy my week. So especially when it comes to health and fitness, I've been working out really, really hard the last year and a half or so. Really started it right before COVID, lifting weights. I love to run, so I'm a runner. So I hit it hard during COVID. We actually moved into the house that I'm in now. Last summer, kind of during the height of all of this, and built out a gym in my garage. So I got a full setup there, squat rack, dumbbells, everything. It's awesome. And I during the week, I'm finding myself like executing on my goals, eating the right foods, working out, and I'm even working out during the weekends. But when it comes to my diet on the weekends, that Friday night, Saturday, and even into Sunday, the diet, and then again with the alcohol, like it's like three steps forward, two steps back sort of thing. And I'm making progress, but it's not the progress I want to make. And I'm going to be 36 in December. I just got my blood work done, everything else checked out, mostly okay, but like my testosterone was a little low. And it's funny because everything is so wrapped up into the exercise and the diet and the drinking, and that's kind of wrapped up in nutrition. But so my testosterone was low. Well, the doctor was like, you produce testosterone when you're sleeping, which I did not know that. But apparently you do. And he's like, are you sleeping well? And I'm like, well, no, I'm not sleeping well because I'm drinking. So he's like, well, if you cut out the booze, you're going to sleep well, then your testosterone is going to go up. And I'm not at a point where I'm interested in, doing testosterone injections or anything because I'm still young, but I'm getting older, my body's starting to slow down, so I'm really trying to get ahead of that, because I don't want to get older and not be able to run, not be able to lift weights. My kids are 7, I want to be able to do stuff with them, and my kids are pretty active. My one daughter just does gymnastics, my other daughter is just hyperactive. She's just all over the place. I see her like running with me later when she gets a little older, so that's something I want to be able to do with them. So and again, I've always been like a heavy guy. I've never had a flat stomach. I don't need like washboard abs, but I've never, not in my life, ever had like a flat stomach. So I really want that. Like, and I even thought that, I think it was last night or the night before. I'm like, what if I gave myself for my 36th birthday, like a gift to myself of like having that flat stomach? I could totally do it if I just buckled down and just executed. But that's the struggle that we have to do. Is just execute on those goals every day. But you have to set those goals. So you've got to set them. You've got to write the goals down, and then you've got to reverse engineer how you're going to get to those goals. If you don't do that, there's no point in trying to chase anything because you're not going to get there. It's like setting the GPS in the car. Unless you actually set that destination, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. Is just trying to. I think for the weekends, just trying to conquer my weekends from a health and fitness standpoint.
So how do you walk into your weekends? Like, are your weekends laid out like your week's laid out?
They're not, and I came to that realization about 2 weeks ago. So I actually just ordered the Order of Man, his little journal. So I'm gonna really I have some goals written down and stuff like that, but I need to get focused where I'm actually like scheduling time to review them Sunday night, do meal prep Sunday afternoon. Like schedule that family time during the weekend, like on a Sunday morning. Um, and leave some time for some fun and going out to dinner and getting together with people. But I have not historically structured my weekends like I have my week, because I just kind of go into them. When you asked, how do you go into your weekends? I go into them tired and just needing to relax. So I need to restructure the week so that I'm not there on Friday, that I
Yeah.
can, that I can continue that momentum into the weekend. Cause that is where you're going to lose every time. Again, it's that 3 steps forward, 2 steps back thing. You'll make some progress, but it's not the progress that I want.
Yeah, I mean, and what you were, and even going through earlier the stuff you were talking about, like you're finding personal development, and I'll come back to this, right? Like what you
Yeah.
were saying when you were saying, hey, I hit this podcast, I was listening to Priscilla stuff, I was listening to testimony stuff. What you're finding was clarity, right? You were
Yes.
hearing and partaking, maybe one directionally, in conversations that you hadn't had before, and it starts to bring clarity to things. And fast forward, like, and it's why, like, Lions Guide, I made clarity one of the core values, because the more we find clarity and establish clarity, the more progress we're going to make. So for your weekend, if you're rolling into your weekend with no clarity, right? You've set no
Yep.
intentions, you have no game plan, and you're just winging it. Yep, you're going to drink. Yes, you're not going to get crap done. Yes, you're going to eat 4 pizzas. Yes, you're going to eat a
Yeah.
box of Little Debbie's.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to come Monday morning and be mad that you just aren't ready for the week and you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was something I realized was, especially when I was trying to even moderate drinking, attempting that. If I set a game plan, if I literally like set my intentions for the weekend, and go, oh, we're going to little Johnny's birthday and there's going to be a cooler there, I'm only drinking 2 beers. But I would take it farther and I would say, well, we're probably going to be there from 6 to 10. So I'm only going to drink a beer. I'm not going to have one when I first get there. I'll grab one at 7, and then I'll have another one at 9, and then I'll roll. Like, I literally had to get a game plan together. If I didn't do that, it's curtains.
Yeah.
As soon as
Yeah.
I'm there, say hello, straight to the cooler. But and that's I guess my thing is now I'm very intentional, with
Yes.
all 7 days. I have to be intentional all 7 days, because if you look at it, right, like whatever the fraction is it on it, like you're losing 2/7 of your life,
Yeah.
by you're losing that level of progression, right?
Yeah.
Because so it's just, for me, I set I sit down on I actually do it Fridays, but I have a week close routine where I sit down and I close down my week, and a part of that routine is I lay out my week ahead all the way through the following Sunday. And a part of that week close, I'm looking at my weekend and I'm setting my intentions, like what's going on, are there any gaps, can I spend that time with family, can I do something productive, whatever. But the moral of the story is, like, the intentionality is your savior, right? You can,
Yes.
if you set intentions and get your game plan together, and it like I and I'm throwing other words besides saying structure, right? Because everyone hates the word structure and
Mm-hmm.
discipline, and because they've just got negative connotations when you're trying to take this hill. But that's why I kind of go with, like, I'm just getting my game plan together, like,
Yeah.
get my game plan together, whatever. So
And the crazy thing is that you have the power to reach any goal that you could ever want. It's totally up to me. It's totally up to you. Like, there is nobody else standing in your way. If there's something that I want, and this has been historically true in my life, like if there's something that I want, I dare I say, you can get in the mumbo jumbo of like visualization and stuff like that, but there are aspects of this house that I'm living in that I visualized, that I wanted, and that I sought out, found, and made happen. So you can get to that level of granularity, but it's going to take you executing those tasks at that granular level. And again, I'm taking a giant shit on myself, because like I'm such a hypocrite in that regard, because I'm not where I want to be. And I think that's what it all boils down to, is that's the human struggle. We're all struggling. And I think that's like the message for me to anybody listening here, is just, I'm struggling just as much as you are. You're struggling just as much as anybody else. Everybody struggles. We're all human beings. Like, again, everything's relative. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you make, how good your fitness is, how well your nutrition is. You drink, you don't drink, the color of your skin, your religious background. We all struggle. We're all on the same train going to the same destination, and we're all going to get there eventually. We all have been born. We're all going to die. That's it. Like, we're on this ride together. So it's crazy, but that's really what it boils down to.
Do you at the office? Do you guys follow traction at all? The
You
traction
know,
model?
you know what's so funny? I have the book right here. I just got it.
Yeah.
I
So
literally just got it.
highly recommended. One of the things you're going to run into is like what they call the L10 meeting,
Hmm.
and it's a good format. But the majority of I believe they recommend a 90-minute meeting or maybe 60. I don't remember. But the majority of that L10 meetings, you come together with your decision makers once a week, and you basically keep a issues list as you go. And what you do is you look at all the issues when you turn to the issues portion of the meeting, and you vote on what's the biggest issue to solve for, and then you attack that one if it takes the whole rest of the meeting or whatever. But you basically prioritize the issues. I mean, I think like what I've done and try to help people with is like take that concept and just lay it on life, because if you read all these leadership management books and whatever, um, the tactics actually you can use them in personal development. This was one I go
Absolutely.
like, hey, you take like you said with a goal. You just described project management, right? Begin with the end
Hmm.
in mind, put the project plan together, set your milestone, blah blah. So same thing. I take you take and list out your issues, right? And what's of those 10 or 3,000 things you list, like what's the one thing, the most important thing that you could solve for right now, and just
Yeah.
start there. We all got that list. Like the
Yeah.
list is long.
And it's
But if
never
you,
ending and it'll never go away.
yeah,
That,
right. And that's the cool part about that process. And this too, I'd love you keep me posted how you're doing on it, because
yeah.
I think traction is great for, especially for businesses. And you talked about earlier, I think operational maturity. You're trying to
Yes.
turn the page from survival mode into thrive mode, right? You're kind of growing out of survival mode. You're making that transition. Say, hey, I'm not an entrepreneur anymore. I'm a business owner now, and
Yeah.
attraction is a great tool at all levels. But if you're hitting that transition point, it's a great tool. But every week you do that, right? You come back with your leadership team and go, what's the issues? Hey, well, here's from last week. Here's some new issues. And then everyone goes, okay, of what we're looking at this week, what's the most important thing to solve for right now? What's the biggest, you know, you know, thing clogging up the wheels here that we can address?
Yeah.
You vote for three and start hitting them and go. And if you can just kind of bring that back to your own personal development, that's a great way to just kind of start prioritizing a little bit. So.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that I'm really trying to do, in my personal life is just get those things down and really get them down further to a granular level. Because I know where, generally speaking, the goals that I have, and I even have some of them or most of them written down, but I'm realizing that I need to get like super granular. Like, what do I need to do here? Like, for me, my nutrition, I'm counting my calories and stuff like that, trying to track the protein that goes into my body and whatnot. But I'm my goal basically was like, oh, I'm going to track my calories. What I actually realized I need to do is actually shop. I need to plan out my meals very specifically, eat the same thing every day, shop for the same thing every day, put it in the pantry in the same spot, just really like bring that structure. Because I'm failing, because it's not being successful what I'm trying to do. So I need to find a way to actually make that happen. So
Yeah, you need to build a system.
yeah.
You need to, yeah, like build your system, and then you. Uh, so I haven't released it yet, but I put together a course that's all these things, and it's right now its beta name is 10 disciplines of self-leadership, right? And it's how do you take a lot of, like I said, a lot of practices that are used in business leadership management, and that's one of them, right? Like you got to
Yeah.
build a system. If you don't have a system, you don't know how to make adjustments. If you're just like willy-nilly every day, every week or whatever, and maybe it's not you eat the same thing every day, but you at least have a system of what you're going to eat each week, and
Yeah.
and those things are intentional based on what your goals are, right?
Yeah.
As you start, again, you said it, once you set what that goal is and you start reverse engineering back it and start analyzing what's working and what's not working, and do that reflection often as matters, that brings
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, and I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, and I honestly I don't really like the guy. I don't like the whole Facebook thing, but anyways, his whole thing about just wearing the same outfit every day, so that he doesn't have to make the decision. Oh, what am I going to wear today? Like creating a system like that, even at that granular level, can produce results. Even if it's micro results, those micro results will add up to huge macro results. So
Yeah, have you ever read the Compound Effect?
I have not. No.
That's a great book, and that's Darren Hardy, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
Darren Hardy,
Check it
Compound
out.
Effect. That's a good one, and it talks to that, right? The compound
Yeah.
effect of doing the little things consistently over time and how it adds up. And he just puts in a lot of great examples in that. But
Love
so,
it.
so what are you working on now at work wise? What's the
Yeah. Yeah. What am I working on? So right now, again, we're trying to chase operational maturity. We're trying to, I feel like it's funny. I feel like we're a real company now after 6 years. Like I said, we'll do just over 3 million in business, but we have all of the right players in the right spots. Enough so that basically people aren't doing a little bit of everything. We have like actual departments, and we're segregated out there because we're 18 people now. So we're really trying to kind of get to that next level. And I'm maybe one day I want to build this huge MSB IT consulting company. But I want to kind of start with a smaller goal in mind and reach that. And really, it's a profitability goal. It's a revenue goal that's not too far from where we are now. But again, that was a good way to put it. We've gone from like entrepreneur startup mode to being a business owner. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And I'm along those lines. I'm trying to surround myself with people that are like-minded, that are going to help get me there, because I truly believe that I'm not going to be able to do it by myself. So I'm trying to kind of break into other inner circles. And I actually have a question for you in that regard, because there's a couple people that I have kind of in my mind that I have a group of friends, and I love all of my friends now. Some of them are the drinking buddies. Some of them, are the friends that kind of push me and want better for me. And that's great and all. So I see that as one level. Now, my question to you is basically like, I have my eyes set on a few other people that I would consider more successful. They're in a different circle than I'm in. They've had more success. They're running multiple businesses. Their net worth is much higher than mine. um, how do you break into that next inner circle? Because I'm specifically trying to do that with a couple people, and I'm unsure of how to do that. Like there's this one guy. I'm not going to say his name, but I've actually sent him a few messages. I've sent him some video messages on Instagram. I'm like, hey man, I know you don't know me, sort of a thing. I'm watching you from afar, and he's actually geographically close to me. So that's kind of why I reached out to him. And he's actually I'm wearing the shirt, in the Arate group, the Andy Frisella and Ed Milet's group that I'm a part of. And I see this guy, and I'm like, man, I feel like being surrounded by someone like him would help me kind of get up on a level on the ladder. And it's not like I want to chase after him so that he can help me, like he's going to give me something or do anything like that. It's just, I want to surround myself with better and better people. I think that's where I'm trying to get at. So my question to you is like, how do you get into somebody's inner circle that you would consider maybe above yourself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, on the well, since you're basically reaching out, but you're not having success so far, is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, number one, you should have zero expectation, right? And you can get what you
Right.
can get out of them from. And how do you know? So you just know they're in this group, or you've been in
Yeah.
sessions with them, or whatever.
Yeah, we're in this group. I've seen him from afar. And I know he's seen my Instagram videos, because you can see when people see. Now, here's the
Yeah.
good news: he's not blocked me. He's not been like, who the hell is this creep? So he hasn't blocked me. But yeah, there's been no response. So I almost feel like I'm like a salesman, like trying to sell my way into an organization or something like that.
Well, I think two things, right? Just off the cuff, I think like maybe is there anyone that's in between that's in your circle already that could make an introduction, right? So you kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, going salesy a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're not getting in direct, if you got referred in by someone, so maybe if you had success connecting with someone that's got a connection with him that you could, make an influence on, to where you could add that you could go to that ask, right? So maybe
Yeah.
tier down and work your way there, and then it is an idea, because I think you're doing a lot of good things, because I like doing the video messages and all that stuff. It's not just a stupid text coming through like we
Yes.
all get. It's showing you're perfectly human and you're a real person and you're not a bot and all that thing. So I think
Yeah.
that's good, and that's cool to hear. So uh, for that part of it, I think trying to flank them, as far as like getting someone to make an introduction and maybe working your way around that way. And then
Yeah.
I think as far as, and I think knowing what they're looking for right now, like even if you can't get that answer directly, but if you're watching their stuff and if you could find out what their current mission is and find ways to support that, right, and show that, like, bring some value, right, like
Yeah.
you're seeking to get some value by their influence at a closer level, I guess, which
Yeah.
um, if they're popular, successful, or whatever, you're asking for a lot, kind of, because
Totally.
time, you're asking for time and focus, which are the two biggest things that we cherish the most, right?
Yeah.
But if you can demonstrate that you can bring value, or you're willing to support them ahead of that, right? Like, what are you willing to do for them? So I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it offline, but one, I guess I would say trying to find a connection, a mutual connection or some other way, or maybe if
Yeah.
there's if the group has some sort of networking event or whatever, and then you can, then you're walking up going, hey, I want to introduce myself, and then showing a lot of gratitude, like, for the example they've set for you. Like, if you're saying, hey, this is someone I really aspire to or really look up to or whatever. I mean, everyone loves a good cheerleader, man.
Yeah.
To get the opportunity to kind of just introduce yourself in that way, I think would be good. And then from there, just see what you can do. If you can get that connection, finding ways that you can help them, and you're courting, man. You're
Yeah, no,
courting.
it's true. It's true.
Like
You're telling me the things that I thought you would say. So it's good to just kind of reiterate that in my mind, or solidify that, because that's, yeah. And it's not like I'm not trying to reach to this guy to extract something from him, but I need, because I don't have a lot of like really, really solid people in my life that are executing on the level that I'm trying to execute on. So I'm trying to surround myself with more of those people, because it's, when you're executing, and this, when you're executing at that level, it's a very, very lonely road. It can be, and especially if you're like a people person like I am. Like, I love the people side of what we do in business, and technology is great and all, like I said, but I'm a people person. Like, I need to be around people. I love to be around people. I love to help people. Like, I love to help people. I get severe satisfaction about that. So I just want to surround myself with people that are executing on the level that I am, because
yeah,
I don't want to do it alone.
that's honestly, that's a big facet. I'm working on Alliance Guide right now. Like, I started this thing doing the one-on-one coaching in design for group coaching, but the membership is going to be about that, because you used the word that I use. It's lonely to switch into this gear. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of people, and that's why these high performers that you look up to. That's why their circle's so small and it's hard to break into,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because of that. They know, like, there's not a lot of people, and that's typically the experience. And that says being a high performer is a lonely place, because you've described like your own challenges. Everyone's up against those challenges, and some just aren't climbing and they don't care to
Yeah.
climb. And there's way more of those folks than the ones that are climbing.
Yeah.
I've been especially fortunate, since I kind of went to market with this, to meet other high performers who are of this growth mindset, and I've loved it. I've loved every minute of that,
Yeah.
because I feel you, man. And that's why I want to get the membership stuff off the ground, because it's going to be a community. What I'm calling, like, growth warriors, right? Like,
Yeah.
that are just focused on growth and supporting one another and relating and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, and have people that can go, hey, here's how I solve for it, right? It's
Yeah.
um,
It's so funny the way you described that. I had this thought the other day, and I wrote it down. I actually sent it in a message to my company. Basically, like, the message was to the company was, you have to go to war with yourself in the morning before you go to war with others. And I think what you just said kind of wrap that into, I think, a good majority of people that are not high performers, or they're not chasing goals like that, all they do is spend their time and their day warring with others. So they're not doing the war with themselves. They're just doing the war with others. And I think that's what separates, those people from the high performers is the high performers are doing war with themselves and others. And I think that's why it's incredibly lonely and incredibly difficult, because we're fighting, you know, two facets of a war, and other people are maybe even not even warring, they're just reacting.
Yeah.
They're simply reacting to life. But I want to get into a point where, in some way, shape, or form, I'm controlling and directing the flow of my life. I don't want life to happen to me. I want to control as much as I can. Obviously, life is life, and we're not promised tomorrow, but I want to be able to control as much as possible, because I want certain results out of life. So
Yeah, no, that's freedom. And it's like people use that for like they're convenient distractions, right? Like the hardest
yes,
thing you can face is yourself. And hey, thanks to good old social media, right? We've got something to just to debate about every single week now. There's some national freaking debate
yeah,
every freaking week. Like the media and social media have found it, right? How do you
yeah,
keep the attention? How do you keep the engagement up? Every week is a new episode. What this week on the US drama soap opera,
yep,
right? And every single week it's something different. It's the mask, it's the vax, it's the, Olympians not going to compete or doesn't want to do it, right? Like just look at the last freaking 8 weeks, all this nonsense. But here's the thing, to your point, right? People wrap up themselves up for hours a day in this trash, hours a
yeah,
day. It has zero impact on their lives if they're real about it. If they're
yes,
real about it, if they're real with themselves about it, has zero impact. But guess what? It's just another episode in the days of our lives that they get all consumed in, and it's just a convenience. Oh, I can't get on a diet. They want me to wear a mask on an airplane. This is bullshit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's just convenient distractions so you don't have to work on yourself, and that's all it is. And I'm calling out all you out there right now. I'm calling you out on that. Like you guys chasing these cars like a dog chasing cars on a highway every single week, and it's not serving you, man. You think you're
no,
going to solve the world's problems and you can't even fix your own marriage, right? You can't
yep,
think you're going to solve the world's problems and you're freaking obese. Like give me a
yep,
break, man. Fix
yeah,
you and you'll start fixing the world. Like start with you.
yeah, yep. Jordan Peterson, I just finished his book, 12 Rules for Life. Phenomenal
Hmm.
book. And that was one of the rules is, put your household in order before you criticize the world. And I cannot begin to tell you how true that is, especially today. Because, yeah, just the fighting. I've been off Facebook for a while. I'm still on Instagram, but, I'm not like super active on it. But the media, social media, it's all tearing us apart. It's all, dare I say, part of the plan, but that's the whole plan. Like that's what it was designed to do. We're just consumed by that. And I think if we, and I've got people that are very, very close to me that I love and that I know that are just so consumed by what's going on that they can't see, the things that are happening in front of them, and it's scary. And I don't want that to be for me either, because that happens to me sometimes. I was terrified when this whole COVID thing started happening. I was very concerned for me and my family, but I've seen it unfold, and I don't have to get into the politics of it, but there's more going on, and for the most part, I would say that I don't believe that the government cares about us at all. Like I truly don't believe that. We have to look out for ourselves. We have to get ourselves under control, our health, our fitness, our families, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids. That's where it all starts. Then I can be a good neighbor. I can be a good friend. It kind of outflows from there. You're not going to fix the person in the White House. Like you're just not going to do it. It's a
Yeah.
fool's errand to think you're gonna fix that.
Right back to it though, right? Like what are we talking about again? Clarity. If we're clear
Yes.
about what we want, who we are, how we're going to interact with other people, what makes us successful, if we, what our issues are, if like we establish that clarity and you start there and grow, it allows you to put those outside things where they belong on the outside, right? If you start bringing, the more clarity you can bring, like you said, to what you want, like what's
Mhm.
important to you right now, what's the most important thing that you could be solving for right now, it's gonna put that stuff in check. But so many people lack clarity. They're chasing, what they think. people think they should be,
Yeah.
and they're trying to be that instead of just really being honest with themselves. Yeah, the Jordan Peterson stuff. Um, I would say years ago when I came across that, and even again, back to hashtag clarity, his book gave me a ton of clarity. It
Yeah.
just checked so many boxes. And I don't know, like when you read through the stuff he talks about, just facing discomfort and growth,
Yeah.
and it just starts, it's really affirming, right? And that's what he gets the biggest compliment on, is that people come up to him most and say, you articulated what was in my head, I just didn't know
Yes.
how to say it. And
Yeah.
that was it for me. And totally. So
And that dude knows how to articulate. I listen to his book on Audible, and I have to rewind it sometimes. I'm like, there's been times where I literally have to like look up a word that he used. I'm like, what the hell does that
oh
mean? I feel like an idiot when I listen to him.
So, what I tell people, and anyone listening who's first hearing about Jordan Peterson or whatever, I actually recommend, what I consumed first was his. He's got a series, his podcast.
Yeah,
But if you go back
maps
to
for meaning.
yeah, but if you go back to the beginning of his podcast, the early episodes, he
Hmm.
actually put out. He did these lectures up in Canada, and they were on public television, and they were called the psychological significance of the biblical stories.
Yes.
Um, if you go listen to them, and they're on YouTube, they're on podcast. If you go listen to them first, number one, that's where I started. That's where I was like,
Yes.
"Whoa, who is this dude, and how do I get more of this?" Um, and if you listen to him enough, you can read him better. Because I talk to people, and I used to recommend, like, man, check out 12 Rules for Life. And they would go back like, man, I could not hang. I could not hang with that dude. But I say, okay, go listen. Now I tell people, go listen to him first. So when you read him, you can hear him and you know how he talks, because man, he's super intellectual.
Yeah.
And what, isn't it crazy? Like, it's like he recites reference books. Like he'll be
Yes.
talking. I don't know if you listen to any of his lectures, but he'll be talking and he'll rattle off some stuff, and he'll say, that's a quote on page 57 of some psychology book or whatever. I'm like,
Yes. Yeah. That guy's got a strong mind. And here's the crazy thing. What I look up to him, and I've gained so much knowledge and just so much from him. But the dude was struggling. He was on medication, like for mental health, like anxiety and stuff like that. And he just went through withdrawals and just had some major health issues. But again, he's only human. And that's the amazing, awesome part. Like, we look up to this guy, but again, he's only human. But yeah, the dude, his mind is something else. It really, really is. And clarity. Yeah. It brought so much clarity around just being able to articulate, like you said, kind of what was going on in my brain, for sure. But yeah, that's so true.
well, it's affirming, right? Because I still
Yeah.
can't articulate it. I even tell people, I start going, well, Jordan Peterson, blah blah blah, and I go, you know what? I'll send you something to listen to it, because I can never. but but yeah, man. But it's affirming, right? Like you're hearing someone so smart kind of put it together for you, and you
Yeah.
go, it's okay to think that way. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
what it got for me. Like I had all this stuff in my head, where I felt I thought I was wrong. I was like, I never hear anyone talk about this, or that they feel this way or whatever. So what's wrong with me? And then you listen to a guy like that, like spit it out, and you go, maybe there's not something wrong with me. Maybe I just
Yeah.
hadn't heard it right before. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, it's good stuff. Good
that is
stuff.
good. So you're growing the business. What do you look forward to most in your days running the company?
um, right now, we have such a good team. I love being around all of our people. I love doing it together. Here's what I love. And it's probably gonna sound like I'm tooting my own horn right now, but I worked for a lot of assholes in my past. I did a lot of job hopping. Dude, I kissed ass. I've crawled through the mud in the last 15 years of my profession. And I have worked for some assholes, and it's amazing to be in a place now where I'm specifically not doing the things that I used to hate, or the things that I was exposed to, basically. So working for these people, that it was just like, man, these guys don't care about me. Whatever it was just a kind of a negative situation. Although I'll say this, I don't take for granted where I've been and the experiences that I've had. But I look back and it's just like in the moment, I'm like, man, these guys that I work for are absolute assholes. Like, and I hate this. So all that to say, like, I enjoy basically not being that asshole and just like being fair, but with our staff, with our clients. Um, I want I want to win together. I want my team to win. I want our clients to win, and really like our business. It kind of centers around the growth of our clients because the way we charge basically is per user per month. So I want them to hire more employees. And for those that aren't familiar with the IT consulting world, basically we provide an outsourced IT department for companies that probably don't have IT staff or minimal IT staff. So we take care of all of the servers and the workstations, and we basically run a call center. So when people can't print or can't send emails, they call us and go, "Hey, I can't print," or "Hey, I can't send emails." But anyways, we price that basically per user per month, and it's unlimited services. So we don't charge them per hour. So all that to say, their success is our success. So when I see our clients growing and I see like, we've got a couple electrical contractors that we do business with here in the county, and I see the trucks around town. I see them doing jobs at the airport and things like that. Like I feel a part of their growth and their expansion, and it's really, really cool to see that. Some of our original clients that have been with us since the beginning, where we saw them in the beginning and kind of the evolution of taking them through different technologies and rolling things out and making their business process and their technology better. It's really satisfying. It really, really is. So we can all celebrate, our growth and our success together. That's what drives me. And I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that'll keep driving you because it's very rewarding, right?
Yeah.
To get the feedback from the clients, and that's where you need to be. And are you calling yourself an MSP? I know everyone calls
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's all the MSPs listening out there, man. That's the secret sauce, man. Like care about your clients, care about
Yeah.
delivering good service. Know that you're supporting them, right? Like
Yeah.
they're trying to be, to use that analogy or cliche or whatever it is these days. Like they're trying to be the hero of their story, and your job is to come help them be the hero, right? We all know,
Yeah.
like you're running a business, running a business is hard. So now you relate and go, well, my clients are running businesses. How can I help them, right? How can I
Yes.
help them not be so hard? And if you do that, they'll pay you for it, like because they
Yeah.
need the help, they want the help, and just focus on the service. That's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things that's cool for us is most MSPs actually find themselves, specialize in a couple of different industries. We, for some reason, we touch every industry. We found ourselves exposed to every industry. And I tell you what, although things do vary from industry to industry, IT is IT is IT is IT. And, everybody across every industry struggles with almost the exact same thing. Again, it's all relative. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Sometimes you're exposed to different compliance and things like that. But um, it's really cool to see everybody kind of exposed to the same issues because we're all headed as collective humanity. We're all headed in the same direction. We're all trying to get there, and why not get there together? So
Yeah, 100%, man. What do you look forward to least going into the day?
Uh, you know, I nowadays that firefighting mode. I want to be able to go into the day and have like command of my day and be able to push forward on certain things, and really like check off the task list that I really really need to check off. But sometimes, being from in the IT world, this, like we don't know what we're going to experience when we come in. A server blows up, ransomware, a virus infection, whatever it is, like there's just things that you just can't plan for in this industry. And I know that happens in other industries, but we are without being actual firefighters, we are in firefighter mode where we just have to respond to things that come at us. And that's a struggle sometimes because it takes away from the focus of specifically me and my business partner. And it's good because we have people now in the departments to handle those and we can hand most of that off. But there are a lot of times not a lot of times, there are some times where I have to get involved with things that I don't necessarily need to, or I don't think I should get involved in. But that's where, and I don't, failure is probably a strong word, but that's probably where I'm failing as a leader to help empower my team and let them make the decisions and run with the solutions that they need to. So we're working on that. Again, it's that maturity, operational maturity, and just maturity overall in the business. So
Yeah, and I guess that's a good segue, right? Like, what have you learned since becoming the business owner aspect? Like, how are you having to evolve from that entrepreneurial, bold, driven, do everything, hero leadership to where you
yeah.
are now, 6 years in? Like, what are you learning? How are you changing now as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, most of my day should be and needs to be spent propping up and teaching the people that I've put in leadership roles. We've got this young guy, great dude. He's our support manager, but he's young and he's never worked in a really corporate environment. He's not been exposed to that at the level that I have or somebody else has in our organization because of his age. He's awesome. He's empathetic to the people that we support, to our clients, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. But I need to continue to mold and shape him and teach him, how to handle certain situations. And on top of that, and my business partner Craig and I are actually really good about this. Is we do trust our people. We really, really do. And in fact, I think that they come to us a little more than they should. So I'm working to kind of break that habit in them. Like, I'm like, hey, you don't need to check with me on this. Like, I trust you to make the decision. If it's the bad decision and you need to bring me in on it and I need to help you fix it, that's fine. Bring it to me. I'm not going to get angry, but what I will expect is you learn from that decision and then move on and don't make that same mistake again. Just again, growing up and maturing the leadership that's in our company. That's something that we're really trying to hone in now. And we've, like I said, just end of last year and into this year have gotten to that point where there's enough people where we can focus on that. And I think our next year, 2022, is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be really, really good. So I'm
Yeah,
super
I love
excited.
it, man. That's all the right stuff, man. You're on the right path. That's awesome. That's really
I
good.
appreciate that.
So,
I appreciate
well,
that.
no, I mean that's excellent. You're transitioning to growing the people, right? Like
Yeah.
the what are you most proud of so far in that journey?
Um, I'm just proud. Proud. I'm happy to be where I'm at. I'm I look around. It's that whole imposter syndrome sometimes kind of creeps in here, but I have had success. I own a beautiful house. I have a nice car. I have a beautiful wife, two beautiful kids. I'm super happy where I'm at right now. I definitely want more. But I'm proud because I had some humble beginnings. My dad was a mailman. My mom stayed at home and she homeschooled us. So, we weren't poor. I never went without, but there wasn't a lot of extra money to go around. And that was kind of one of the driving factors, be it good or bad. But I was exposed. I had a couple friends that had parents that were doing very well in life and their families were pretty well off. And I would spend the weekends with them and I'm like, man, like this is much different than my weekends at my house. And it kind of lit a fire in me to want more. And it's nothing against my parents. My parents did anything and everything that they could to provide for us. My dad is one of the hardest workers that I've ever met. He's taught me my work ethic. But we just didn't have the life that I do now, honestly, when I was growing up. So, I'm proud that I'm here. And I want, like I said, I want to bring our team up. I want everybody to succeed because again, my success is everybody's success. So in our company, so yeah, I'm proud of that, and it's crazy to think that there's 18 of us total now. It's crazy to think that 18 families rely on this business. Like that's crazy to me, and I know that's going to continue growing. But it's humbling, but I'm super proud of that. And we actually just went yesterday. We opened it up to the company. Not everybody went because they couldn't, but we had a kayak and canoe trip on one of the rivers here yesterday, just kind of as a team building thing. It was just cool to be able to do that, and just say flip the bill for all that. And it's really cool to do things like that. I'm
Yeah,
really proud of that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great,
Yeah.
man. And you're hitting on some big things. Have you ever read any Patrick Lencioni's stuff?
No.
One of his, so he's got a lot of good books that you would relate to and get a lot out of. But
Okay.
one you make me think of is called "The Truth About Employee Engagement," which really
Okay.
talks about like some of the things you're doing, like recognizing that they're humans, right? They're not just
Yeah.
workers and your loyal subjects that you pay.
Yeah.
They're people, and it's a really great book to kind of just build a great team of people that are all rowing in the same direction, but they know each other and they're helping each other because they all know
Yeah.
that, like you said, my success is your success, so I want to see you win so I can win. Like in the more you know about one another and know why they're there, like your employees have a job with you for why, like
Yeah.
what do they want to get out of it? What you need from them, but why are they there? That would be another one to check out as you
I will do
after you get through
that.
traction or whatever. That'd be good.
Yeah, and it's crazy. One of the things I struggled with recently because I just traded in. I had a truck and I just traded it in. And I've been thinking about doing this for like a year and a half now. I'm driving a nice car now. I bought I didn't go crazy. I have a little Mercedes car that I'm driving now. Traded in the truck, but I tell you what, man. When I pulled up the first day to the office in that thing, I had literal anxiety. I'm like, who the hell am I to be pulling up in this car? And again, they don't know the story, they don't know the struggle, and they don't know, that I've been thinking about doing this for a while, kind of saved up to get to this point and whatnot. But I just like it's so easy to judge somebody from the outside, and me pulling up in this brand new car, and they're like, you know, who the hell is this guy? Like, who does he think he is, sort of a thing. So I had this anxiety that I had to deal with, because the more successful you are, things like that just happen. Maybe you get a bigger house, you get a nicer car or whatnot. So I had to kind of walk myself through that a little bit because it was a weird feeling. It was a very weird feeling. It was not comfortable. So
Awesome, man. Anything else you want to hit
yeah.
on before we start to wrap up?
No, it's been great. It's been a good conversation. I think the important part here is, it's good to talk with you, somebody that's built up a company that had a successful exit. You're on to your next thing, and I look up to you in that, and it's really awesome to see that. And I love being able to share my story because I'm literally I don't even know if I'm at the height of it. I'm not at the height of it. I'm still on that roller coaster. It's clinking up very slowly, and I'm getting to that top, and who knows where this ride's going to take me. But I'm definitely willing to share my story. If anybody wants to reach out, I'm an open book. I'm on Instagram. You can visit our website, vxit.com. My handle on Instagram is Paul Vedder Jr. And hit me up. I'm open to talk with people and connect one-on-one with people and share my story more in depth. I love connecting with people. So
Yeah, no, it's been great, man. And I totally appreciate you coming on. I
yeah,
honor your story and where you come from, like the humble beginnings, and you're still growing. I mean, you say I don't know where. I mean, there is no top, man. Just keep
no,
going,
yeah,
going with what's congruent with you, and that doesn't need to be monetary either. Not
yeah,
monetary either. It's just like what's your vision of happiness and joy, and
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and, and and money makes that possible and gives you the freedom to get those things, but it's not all about that, man. What they say,
no,
the best things in
definitely
life
not.
aren't things. So
Yeah. No, and that's actually something that I was kind of reflecting on today is for sure is the money aspect is obviously nice, and it was initially a driving factor for me because of my humble beginnings. I wanted to strive for more in that regard, but I tell you what now, I want to have a good relationship with my wife. I want to have a good relationship with my kids, and you know what? Let's rewind that. I want to have a good relationship with myself. Because if I can't have a good relationship with myself, I'm not going to be able to have a good relationship with my wife, with my kids, with my business partner, with my coworkers, my employees. Like, it all starts here, and that is the important thing. The money is a tool to get things done, to bless other people, to whatever it is. It's a tool, but yeah, if you can't reconcile yourself and then outflow from there, you're going to be unhappy, and life's not going to be worth living. So that's where you got to start.
couldn't finish on a more solid point than that, my man. So cool, dude. So no, great conversation. I'm sure it's going to serve
Yeah.
a lot of people